All right, I'm out here in my patio, and I have something a little different for you today. Now, I know this channel is about board games and puzzles and a couple of different things, right? But today I want to take a left turn and introduce you to my watch collection, right? Because I really like watches. You know, when I was a kid, my grandfather introduced me to watches, to mechanical watches. And since then, I've had a passion for it. And I am a watchmaker, so I do repair watches, not professionally. That's not my career. But I've done plenty of them over the years, including a couple of these. I'm fascinated by the parts that make up a mechanical watch. See, as you can see here, the watch components. Some of these watches will be slightly different because some of these companies here make their in-house movements. This is called a movement, right? The whole thing. So they'll have slight variations on this, but this is fantastic, right? I mean, I'm just fascinated by this. This you could consider it a puzzle, right? If you're working on a watch, and I've worked on many watches. For instance, my grandfather had given my mother a little Cartier watch when my mother was in her teens, and it wasn't working. So, you know, not that long ago, I opened it up and was able to get it to work. It's just fascinating. It's just fascinating, and it's a little puzzle if you're trying to fix mechanical watches. Now, some of these are quartz, they're battery watches, and some are mechanical, and we'll get into that. But I'm fascinated. I do mess around with watches a lot, repair them, and you know, I just have a passion for it, and I wanted to share my watch collection with you guys. Let me begin with this watch which my mother gave me back in the early 2000s. This is a, oh, by the way, why the gloves? Not because there's anything here that is like extremely valuable, but because why not? I happen to have some of these because sometimes when you're doing a watch repair and stuff, and you're handling, usually you'd wear little rubber things on your fingers or rubber gloves because you don't want to get any dust inside these watches, right? The mechanical watches. See this one, the little heart's already beating there. It's a automatic mechanical watch. This is a Bon Messier. It's a Classima Executive. My mother gave this to me. It came with a black band, but I put the red band there because Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank wears red bands, and I thought it'd be cool. I do like to change the bands on my watches every now and then because it changes the watch completely, right? It's like a new watch. But this is a Bon Messier. You got the open heart there, and in the back, you got that little open area there too. Let's see if you can see it. Yeah, there you go. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. My mom gave me this in the early 2000s. I'm going to talk about price point here because I don't have any Patek Philippe's. I don't have any Rolex watches here. That Bon Messier, I think at the time was probably around 1500, 2000. This watch here, I've worn a lot. This is the Omega Speedmaster Moon Watch. This is the one that was officially sponsored by NASA to go to the moon, as you can see on there. I've worn this watch under every imaginable circumstance. This is the watch that I've worn the most in the collection. Of course, I have the original metal bracelet, but I recently changed it to this brown leather, and I think it looks absolutely beautiful. I won't be taking this out in the rain that much because of the leather, right? I got a couple of other watches I can take in the rain, but this is beautiful. I love this watch, the Moon Watch. Also, I picked this up in the early 2000s as well. I think it was mid 2000s, 2005, I think. And this at the time was what, like $3,000 or something? It's the most expensive, the most amount of money I've ever spent on a watch, I think, up until now. So there you have it. This is beautiful, the Omega Moon watch. I have a lot of history with this watch here. And every watch tells a story, right? This is what's interesting about watches. And you know, it's not necessary to have a wristwatch anymore because, you know, on your phone, the time is very accurate. And by the way, this is you have to wind this one. It's a mechanical watch that you have to wind because on the moon, you know, they weren't going to do the mechanical automatic watch thing, so you actually have to wind this one. But you know, mechanical watches are not as accurate as quartz watches. Like quartz watches will tell time better, and of course you have your iPhone, so it's not totally necessary, but they are functional. They are functional. One example, I'll give you one quick example. You're having dinner with somebody, so instead of grabbing your phone, I'm filming this with my phone, so that's why the phone's not there. But instead of having to peek at your phone, you got your hand right there, and you take a peek right there, and you know what time it is, right? So it's more polite than going into your phone. But anyway, the Moon Watch. This watch is, I love it. This is a Seiko 5. Seiko is a very respected company. They make wonderful watches. This Seiko 5, I don't know, a couple $100. I mean, very affordable. Because I'm really all about the dial, right? I don't follow brand too much. And by the way, I'll talk about these down here in a minute. Some of you that know about watches are probably freaking out by seeing some of these here, but I'll talk about these down here in a minute. This is a Seiko 5. I think it's gorgeous. It's an automatic watch, right? Automatic. I love the open back. Very sturdy. So I live in South Florida. When it's raining a lot or when we get hurricane-like conditions, I'll be popping this on. The bezel, for those of you who don't know, has a couple of functions. You know, it can be a timer. Like, let's say I put the pasta on and I need it for like 12 minutes. I may put that there. Sure, you can tell your Alexa, you can do it on your iPhone, but you can do it here as well, right? So when that hand gets to there, I know that my pasta is ready. Or if you're diving, and by the way, these don't bevels, most of the time on most watches, they don't turn the other way. Because if you're underwater, for instance, let me give you a quick example, and you have, let's say you're diving, and you have 10 minutes of air, you put that there, and you cannot make the mistake underwater of going the other way, only shortening your time. And that way you could just look at your watch real quick and see how much time you have left. But there you have it. I love these Seiko 5s. They're very cool. There's a lot of different designs. I call this the blueberry. I love that black and blue radiant dial. A gradient. It's radiant too, but it's a gradient. Very cool. Let me put that away. And my mom gave me this one too before she gave me that Classima Executive. This is a Lockman. It's an Italian watch. I like the orange hands there. It's cool. I've worn this a lot, and I didn't have this is the original strap, leather strap on it. But this part was broken, and I happen to have this gold clasp here, this gold part. Obviously, it doesn't match the watch. I need to change that to silver, but I just put it on. There you have it. It's a Lockman Sport. I think they still sell some of these today. This is a Victorinox Swiss Army watch. I've worn this a lot, like in hurricane conditions and a lot of rain and stuff. It's a very sturdy, strong watch. I think at the time, I don't know how much this cost me, 150, 200, 300 bucks, I'm not sure. There's a name for this watch. I blanked out now. I can't remember for the model of this. This is very, 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 very strong watch, and I wore it a fair amount. It's a quartz. Usually, you can tell because the second hand, clicks in little steps like that. Though they do have quartz watches that the hands kind of sweep across. Usually on a automatic watch, you'll see the hands sweep across instead of, and that just means that the mechanism inside is just ticking much faster, so it looks like it's sweeping. Yeah, what is this called? Maverick? No, I can't remember. But anyway, that's a very sturdy watch. It's very, very cool. It's a bit heavy. Usually in the rain, I'll take that out. Or this. This has a neat little story. I mean, it's just a simple watch, right? A friend of mine from England. He designs flight simulators for Boeing, and he came down here to South Florida, and I went to Boeing with him, and they had a little store there. So I picked this up. It has a story, it has meaning to me. It's a quartz watch. I need to replace the batteries. I haven't worn this in a while, but it has a story. I look at this watch, and I'm always reminded of my friend Nigel, and the fun times we've had here in South Florida, and everything he's taught me about flight simulators. Fascinating stuff. Orient is a company that's connected to Seiko, but they're their own company, their own brand. I think they came out in 1950. Like Seiko, they make their own movements, right? So this is what I was talking about earlier. This is like a automatic watch movement, mechanical. And so it'll have maybe some variations depending on different complications. Again, I love the blue-black gradient dial, and I love that little red spot on the second hand, right? This is an automatic watch, so as you wear it and you move around in it, as you can see there. Where is it? Let me see, because I'm looking through the camera, and it's hard to see. Anyway, there's a part of the watch that'll move as you move around, and it'll create the energy to have the watch work, right? But I think that's quite attractive. Orient, it's a company. You need to look at this company if you don't know anything about them. The watches are inexpensive, and collectors are enjoying them. I don't call myself a collector. I wear these watches, so I'm not buying watches to resell them or anything. But Orient is a very interesting company. I gave my brother a Bambino, which is a beautiful Orient watch. This is probably my favorite Orient watch. It's got this great clasp bracelet. This is called a sun and moon. So it's just different complications, right? It's got a day of the week, the actual day here, and then it turns sun and moon depending on, right? So it's just an additional little complication. This is an automatic watch. You can wind it as well, but it's gorgeous. I love that rose gold. This was, I think I paid, look at that, you can see in the back there, the little hearts beating. And this is what I was talking about earlier. You see that thing moving there? So as you move, that powers the spring to give you movement in the watch. So you got that little heart beating in there. It's fascinating stuff. But this is gorgeous. I love this, the Roman numerals. I mean, it's just beautiful. Orient. I paid like, I don't know, 300 bucks for this. I think they're more expensive now. the prices of these watches are going up. So yeah, check out Orient if you haven't seen their watches. The Bambinos are great. This is a Russian watch. This is the Vostok Komandirsky. Komandirsky means commander. In 1965, these were approved to be used by the Russian military. They're very sturdy watches. This bevel here actually does go both ways. So, you could make a mistake. But again, you can use it as a timer. What I love about this watch, this Vostok Komandirsky, is the 24-hour dial, right? People will look at the watch and go, "Oh no, your watch is wrong. It's an automatic watch, so as you move, it'll wind up." They'll say, "Hey, there's something wrong with your watch." No, there's nothing wrong with it. This time here is, let's see, about 25 to 2, right? Because 14, so about 25 minutes to 2 o'clock. It's not accurate, but isn't that cool? The 24-hour dial. So the small hand will, in 24 hours, will go around once, whereas in a regular watch like this, or like these here, the small hand will go around twice, right? So yeah, 24-hour dial. Isn't that great? I like that blue. And I always like to change the straps on these Vostok Komandyrskis. I don't like the straps that they come with, so I put this on there. I think it looks quite nice. That's one of them. I have 3 of those because I have this black one too. Same watch except the color. And I put this black leather band with the red stitching on there. I think it's quite nice. So that's the second one that I have. And these are inexpensive. And the one I'm wearing, which I also changed the band on, put this sort of suede. This is the white one, right? So the time is actually like 2:07 or something. Yeah, 2:08, almost 2:10, right? Because there's the 2 o'clock. So anyway, I love that 24-hour dial. I think it's cool. Now, down here, well, let me get to this first. My daughter gave me this Batman watch. I think that's the cover for Batman #1, Batman the Detective Comics. This is a quartz. I'm not sure. I've never looked inside. It's probably a Chinese movement, but still works. I don't have a battery in it right now because I don't wear it that often. But I'll put a battery on. I got all the watchmaker equipment in my atelier upstairs where I mess around with watches. This is supposed to be like a German World War II pilot, watch. I like the dome on there, but this is done by a company named Miltech, and I guess it's probably a Chinese movement in there. It is a quartz, right? As you can see, it's ticking there. I like the look of it, but I discovered since I bought this, and this was, under $100, that Orient has a watch that's got a very similar face to this. I don't know. These companies borrow from each other. I think Seiko also has one that's very similar too. So I don't know this Miltech company. I don't know much about it. I just kind of saw it and got it. Now these are the 3 most inexpensive watches that I've ever purchased. This being the most inexpensive watch I've ever purchased, and I was curious, and that's why I bought it. It's a quartz. It looks like a Rolex Submariner. I like the color and stuff. The bracelet is terrible, right? I mean, it's very cheap. It'd probably look better on a black leather band or something. It's called Olev's. I mean, it's probably got a very basic, very inexpensive movement in there, quartz movement. And I don't know, if a hurricane happens and I'm out there helping neighbors move giant tree branches, I might pop this on. I don't care what happens to it. I spent $25 on it. I think it was $25 for this. but it's OLEDs. But they're, deliberately here trying to mimic a Rolex. I was just curious of what a $25 watch would look like. The actual case, uh, the watch itself is not bad. I haven't opened it to look in the back to see what's in there. But the bracelet, yeah, you need to change it. So the thing is, look, if you're about the dial, I don't judge, right? I don't buy fake watches. This is like, I suppose, an homage watch where they're mimicking Rolex. You don't have to have a lot of money to buy nice looking watches. Like these Orient watches, they're not that expensive, right? This one here was under $200. That Seiko there was 200 bucks. This Vostok Komandierskis, these are under $200, under $150 even. This one I was also very curious about because I was wondering if these things actually worked. This was a little more expensive than that one, probably 45 bucks, 50 bucks. It's an automatic. That's a quartz. This is an automatic watch. Right? There you got that heart beating in there. This is supposed to be a tourbillon. That's clearly a fake tourbillon. But I was wondering if these things work, and they do. If you set them, wherever you set them, and this one too, that's like the day, right? So once you set the, and it's a sun and moon as well, so it's got that little complication in there. But once you set these, as the watch is working, these things will work. So when it shifts from one day to another, that'll work. The day will shift as well. I was surprised that because of how cheap this is. It's got the little blue motif there. It's got the open back. It's again, if you don't have a ton of money or don't want to spend a ton of money on, I don't like the fake tourbillon on there, but it's just a design, right? It's just a design. But the watch looks quite nice. Looks quite nice, and I think it was 50 bucks, under 50 bucks, and this was. Or was it this one? This was like 30 some dollars, Louis Julien, whatever that means. It's got that little blue motif on there. I don't know, I like the look of it, I don't really wear these. I was just curious about the quality of these watches because they're so inexpensive. But again, I just love how they put that 17 back there. Is that some kind of quality control? Well, that one says 15, but this one comes with a little paper. It's inspected by whatever. I thought I saw another one on here, but anyway, you don't have a lot of cash, or you don't want to spend a lot of money. You can still get attractive looking watches, right? You don't need to spend thousands on a watch if you're all about the dial and you like timepieces. This is a quartz. This is an automatic. That's a quartz. That's a quartz. That's a quartz. These two automatic. Well, these are automatic as well as that one. That's a quartz. Automatic. This is mechanical. Self-wind because the moon watch, right? It's the Omega moon watch. That's automatic. That's quartz, and that's quartz. And that's it. I just wanted to introduce you to my collection of watches. I'm fascinated by them. You have a whole little city in there. I've repaired these. I've oiled these. And I just love messing around with watches. Maybe after I retire, I'll work full-time doing watch repairs. But there you have it. Now let's get back to games and puzzles.